This is Microsoft Access. It's a very, very useful database. Sometimes it's a bit criticized by people in IT, but let me tell you, this is actually very, very useful and in the right hands, very powerful database. So don't be put off by it. It can actually do a lot. But how do you create a new database? Well, just like any of the other Microsoft products, you can click on New here, or you can go into File and choose New. On the side, you get a new file pane, and it comes up with database, blank data access page, and there's a few others as well, project using existing data, new data, and so on. We're not going to worry about those or any other templates right now. We're going to have a look at just creating a blank database. And I'm just going to click on that. And the first thing it wants me to do is to give it a file name. You'll see here they end in MDB, Microsoft Database, and it automatically is defaulting to DB1 as the name. I want to change it. And you're thinking, this is a bit different to Word, Excel and PowerPoint, where you create a new one and then you give it a file name when you save it at some time later. Access doesn't quite work that way, because when you start putting data in, you want it to save it automatically. And by creating it first and saving it, you know that your data is safe. So I'm going to just call this one training. So I just type that in. I don't need to worry about the .mdb because it will put it in there for me. I hit create. Also, if you have been watching some of the other tutorials about passwording, it doesn't work the same way in Access. There are different ways, and we will look into that at some other time. So just finding your way around Access now. All of this looks familiar. You've got a menu at the top, you've got a toolbar, and you've got this database window here. That's what that is referred to. It's the database window. And you have objects in it. And there's many things that make up a database. You have tables, and you'll see that objects are listed here. Tables, queries, forms, reports, pages, macros, and modules. And it's the tables where the information is actually stored. And you'll see here there are some shortcuts to getting started, like create table in design view, using a wizard, or by entering data. You have queries. That enables you to, well, what's called interrogate the database. You can actually ask it to come up with certain information. You might be looking at all people, say born in the 60s, and you want to interrogate the database and basically ask it the question, I want to know how many people were born in the 60s, and it will come up with that. There's lots of different things you can do with the queries in terms of searching. So tables, when we get on to using them, look a little bit like an Excel spreadsheet if you've seen one, or a table in Word. But that's not always a very practical way to input information. You can do that by using forms, which will create a nice little layout, probably similar to something you've seen on the internet, where you get boxes, you fill them in, buttons, drop-down lists, and all that kind of thing. And the other thing you need to do is be able to print these out in a useful format. And that's where reports come in, and you can customize them, you can group information, sort it, and so on, so you get your information printed out just right. You could print off a table, however, you may not want it to look like a table. You might want it laid out a little bit differently, and also sometimes you don't want all the information in a table. You just need certain bits to appear. So they're the four main ones, and we're going to be having a look at how all of those work and how to create them. There are many things you can do here, like it can check the data for you, which is called validation. You can get it to choose things from drop-down lists. So there are many things you can use Access for. It's very useful, mail merging, tracking invoices, all sorts of things. So that is a very quick introduction to Access 2003.